What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebrous Infinite, and today I'm bringing you 10 tips and tricks for the Vaas Insanity DLC, the first part of 3 roguelike spins on the Far Cry 6 formula. With powers, traits, and cash to be made, this DLC has a ton of depth to it, and is a full-on game within a game. Safe to say, these tips are some of the best out there and will help you with everything from farming powers, how to prioritize traits, the power of your gadgets, how to earn unique and rare weapons, and so much more. A lot of this farming uses the loop of doing something, hitting up a safe house, quitting back to the main menu or back to the base game world, then jumping back into the DLC, resetting locations, re-randomizing the armory challenges, and giving you the opportunity to make repeat trips to key locations across the map. I've actually really grinded pretty hard to come up with these tips over the past few days, so hopefully these can help you out at any point that you're at in the Vaas Insanity DLC, whether or not you're just starting out or you've already played for like 10-20 hours. Powers are earned while you play, both from completing memories, in chests, from golden hoodias, and at random from killing enemies along the way. The mind level or difficulty level will dictate whether or not you can unlock higher tier powers. Those are the real game changer. So after completing your first run, you'll start to really get into things with this DLC. Which segues perfectly into our first tip here. You can buy powers from your armory. The armory is one of your first accessible points of picking up powers really early on in the game. As well, it's an easy opportunity for acquiring gold powers. Again, you have to clear mind level 1 before you can proceed to other further mind levels, but with each succeeding mind level, you have a higher chance of finding a golden power inside of your armory. What that golden power is random. All of the powers are randomized, but you at least have a 1 in 4 chance of finding a golden power with very minimal effort from these armories. The power system is quite varied, so you can get really into making builds specific to your playstyle, but one big tip for powers is to not get too comfortable on a setup. Try to keep things fluid, and you'll have a lot more fun with new and unique powers you can find along the way, because they reach much further than the abilities on clothing in the base game. Alongside powers are traits, which are permanent upgrades you can buy for cold hard cash in the mirror. These upgrades get really powerful, but the first, most useful skill from the beginning all the way up to the late game is the gadget. With just 1 point put into the envy tree, you unlock the ability to headshot and stealthily kill enemies all the way up to the highest difficulty in the game. They have borderline infinite ammo, as you can refill them from your armory or pick them back up after using them. The throwing knives and the hatchet are legitimately your best friend in this DLC. If you don't unlock either or right away in your first slot, you can re-roll the gadget in your slot to pick up either of these two. I haven't seen them pop up in other gadget slots, so your first gadget slot should always be either throwing knives or hatchets. You do want to be careful with how often you're re-rolling your gadget, because its price does get exponentially more expensive as you re-roll the gadget. So just try to do it 1 time in order to get yourself either throwing knives or throwing hatchets, and then you're pretty much set for that slot for the rest of the game. Throwing knives and hatchets serve the same kind of purpose in the game, both being just a silent throwable weapon. The thing that differentiates them is the speed that they fly at, as well as the kind of general accuracy over a further distance. The hatchet will do a little bit more base damage than the throwing knives will when hitting other body parts, meaning that you don't always need to aim for the head with the hatchet, and you can kind of use it a little bit more flexibly during combat. Whereas with the throwing knives, you generally have to aim for the head in order to get a confirmed kill from it. But the plus side to the throwing knives is that they fly much faster and much more accurately for a further distance. I kind of prefer the throwing knives myself. If you'll be using the power farming route that I'm going to go over later on, then you can pretty much ignore the greed skill until the very end, because you'll be able to maintain extra 1-ups along the way. Realistically, the best skill that you want to go for is pride, just to increase the amount of health you have, so that way you could soak up whatever damage will be coming your way, because there's quite a bit of it. You really need to soak up flamethrower damage a lot, and a lot of shotgun runners running right up into your face. But the other skill that you really want to focus on outside of pride is sloth. Increasing the amount of healing syringes that you can carry, giving yourself access to the wingsuit, and giving yourself fast crouch move speed is really, really useful. And the sooner you can start unlocking the sloth and the pride skill tree, the quicker you'll start noticing Vaas actually becoming pretty overpowered in the game. Now, depending on your playstyle, you might want to actually go for Vaas's Wrath over Sloth in the first place. If you do a lot of takedowns in the Far Cry games, then Vaas's Wrath is very, very powerful, especially the slightly healing after takedown kills, because that includes doing the long distance throwing knife takedown as well as like the sidearm takedowns too. So you can even heal like kind of at a distance. And then when you combine all of the benefits together with the ability to perform chain and sidearm takedowns on heavy enemies, which are the Jason and the Citra spawns that you'll find around the map, Vaas's Wrath is an incredibly powerful trait to go down, if it benefits your playstyle. Now for probably the longest portion of this video, a full-blown power farming route. Traits are rather self-explanatory, and really how you prioritize them is up to you, but powers have a much more random factor to them, so farming them is essential for getting the powers you really want for your run, and maybe even the next runs following it. The route starts at checking out, and I'll be showing you how to finish these mindfucks the fastest way possible as we go along the route. Then, we'll memory link on over to the other side of the island and complete Dr. Earnhardt's house with the balancing point. Afterwards, we'll hit up the 3 trials: pain, endurance, and survival. Realistically, you can cut off endurance and survival if you want to have a bit of a shorter route, but you pass on a ton of opportunities to get the powers you need if you do so. So, starting from checking out, we're going to just jump down into the hole and get started with the mindfuck right away. Once we start moving, we're going to use sliding to turn quickly, and then we're going to maintain our sprint going out into the water section. You'll know that you're doing this situation right if you can manage to run up and get on top of the stairs early like that. And then next up, we're going to again be using sliding for quick turning, keeping pace with this door as it goes along.
Does it hurt to remember that?
And then once we go in, we'll pick up the key sitting on the table here.
Yeah, beautiful 5-star resort, exactly like the pictures.
And head on over to the first room. We have to pick up the knife in here, and then that's it, we can head on out. Then over to the first room with the light on. Do the takedown. Head on out. Jason deserved it. Head into the next room with the light on, which is down the right-hand side. In here we have to smash 3 pictures. One's on the bed, the other's on the wall, and the other one's by the television there. Then we're going to head back out and head to the next room with the light on. In here we have to shave either our beard or our head or whatever, so we'll do that really quickly. Run on over to the next room. Now we gotta do a whole bunch of drugs, so we're just gonna do all of them. I don't advise doing that. Now the whole place is pretty trippy, and we're just gonna head into the final room here, totally ignore the hallucination, and head on out the door. Once Citra's done talking shit, the mindfuck will be complete, and we will be done checking out. And at this point, a golden Hoodia will spawn somewhere around the location. Sometimes it'll be down the stairs near the archway, sometimes it'll be off near the trees, sometimes it'll be on the other side. You have to kind of react to this part because the Hoodias are pretty quick once they start to run away. Pro tip, use poison damage on the Hoodias in order to get a really quick kill on them and not have to struggle with them too much. Hoodias have a very high chance of dropping golden skills on mind level 2 and above, so you really want to take them out in the opportunities you get to. They do spawn randomly around the map as well, so whenever you hear their noise, you really want to look for them. Once you've completed the mindfuck, you'll have 4 powers that you can select from, and I find most often than not, the middle 2 powers do wind up being golden powers, but it's all RNG, and again, that is on mind level 2 and above. Next up, we're going to take the memory link that's going to portal us on over to the other side of the island. Once we've portaled on through, we'll be able to see where we're going next, just straight in front of us.
Beautiful.
On the way down, there is a chest that you can search for a little bit of cash, as well as a shot at a useful power. Chests aren't as good as mindfucks or Hoodias for dropping golden powers, but you still get a chance at them from them. I've also found this spot to be pretty lucrative for finding golden Hoodias at, but again, that's all random chance for where golden Hoodias will spawn in the world. Coming off to Dr. Earnhardt's house for the balancing point mindfuck, we're going to swim on into the house using the broken upper window, and we're going to start off by going through the door, down the stairs, and out the door outside to get into the house on dry land. Man, explaining this one's gonna be fun. So, now that we're dry, we're going to pick up the purple pills sitting inside of the kitchen, and then we're going to open the front door at the kitchen. That's pretty specific, you need to open that door. Then we're going to pick up the red pills upstairs, slide through the window, and then go through the door that we unlocked on dry land down underwater, and then we're going to pick up the yellow pills right here, and there we go, we've got all the 3 pills we need, so we can make our way off into the greenhouse, where we can then put down the pills and collect our reward.
The government does not want you to do certain drugs because they can lead you to enlightenment.
Hey man, magic mushrooms were just legalized in Canada. But our reward will be 3 powers that we could choose from, and sometimes you'll get a golden power. Again, kind of funnily enough, I find that it's usually the middle one that has the golden power. Now, trial time. We're going to hit up pain, then survival, then endurance. From survival, we're going to use memory link number 3 to teleport ourselves across to the safe house on the other side near the volcano, and then we're going to kind of make our way down to the endurance test. So first off, for the pain trial. The pain trial is the easiest of the 3 trials, which is why you can potentially just cut off the trial testing and trial farming at this point. But what you want to do in the beginning of pain is you want to run to the upper area here, so that way you can take out the snipers early on. You really want to prioritize these snipers because they'll be pretty tricky if you ignore them. The dudes with assault rifles and shotguns aren't as, damage dealing as the snipers can be. During this wave, right after you finish off the wave with the snipers, there is a rocket dude up on the upper balcony, so you want to take care of him. And then clean up any other warriors that are left. At this point, there aren't going to be any other enemies on the upper balconies, so you could go about this however you want to. Now that the trial's complete, this is where you want to jump on the golden Hoodias that spawn. There's a whole bunch of them that spawn, and they move at random, so you want to go as quickly as possible, and again, you want to use some sort of a poison weapon to take down Hoodias. Don't worry about picking up their drops, just focus on taking them down. And that's that. They don't stick around for very long, but from this point, you now get a shot at a whole bunch of golden powers. Golden Hoodias are your best shot at golden powers, kind of reasonably. So these trials, as I said, they are pretty essential to the route if you want to be having like full golden powers and just the best build you could possibly have. Once you're outside, you have the choice of either picking up the extra life or selling it. And this is what I was saying earlier about how you can ignore the greed skill tree or trait tree, because you could just pick up these 3 revives and have 3 extra continues where you don't lose your coins or your powers or anything. Or you could sell all 3 of these and earn yourself an easy 3 grand. Now we're coming off to the survival trial, and the difference between the survival trial and the pain trial is that you get 2 opportunities at farming golden Hoodias, but the problem is that one of those opportunities is during an enemy wave, so that makes it pretty tricky. During the survival trial, you just have to kind of hide from this poison that blows out at the start of each wave of enemies, which I'm perfectly demonstrating here. You don't want to be soaking up too much poison damage because it can really eat at you, especially if you're taking a lot of damage from enemies along the way. Now, you guys probably heard it, but there's the Hoodias. Again, these little buggers are random. Incredibly random. I do find that sometimes they follow like a bit of a pattern, but either way. Once you're done fighting through all the waves, there really isn't anything too like unpredictable about the waves in this one, unlike the pain trials. You just have a bunch of enemies and the poison gas that you have to kind of manage. So one of the tips that I'm going to give as a general tip at the end is to heal liberally. Just heal whenever you feel the need to. Especially even if you have like a pretty much full health bar, but you feel like you need to heal, because this is a roguelike, and you don't want to wind up dying and losing potentially a whole bunch of good stuff. At the end of this trial, just like the pain trial, a whole bunch of golden Hoodias are going to wind up spawning, so you just gotta go off and take them out and hopefully get some good stuff from them. Now we're off to memory link number 3 to teleport across to the volcano safe house. After you've taken down that safe house, it's just a short jog over to the endurance trial, or if you have the wingsuit at this point, you can just kind of climb up the volcano hillside and fly on down to that trial.
Oh yeah, I'm skip this. DMT, ayahuasca, whatever the fuck you are, I'm coming for you.
Third trial's basically the second trial, but instead of poison gas, it's fire. The fire only tends to light up the middle area, and instead you have raining meteors, but they're pretty similar. Again, you get an extra shot at at farming the golden Hoodias on the second wave here, and then after you're done completing the trial. Once you're done this trial, that's it for the power farming route, and at this point you should have a whole bunch of useful powers and maybe a few extra continues or a ton of cash for them. And then again, just like all of these different bits of farming, all you need to do is head to a safe house, save and quit to the main menu, and you can pop right back into the DLC and do this loop over again. In terms of getting better powers that will better suit you. Now there we go, that was definitely the longest part of the video, but if you watched or are going to follow the route, let me know how it goes in the comment section down below. Now next up, we're going to shortly talk about money-making builds. There's a couple different types of powers that you can get that earn you money. Whether or not they're powers that earn you money for completing things like takedowns on enemies or killing poisoned enemies, or they're just general buffs to the amount of currency that you earn. And while you're grinding out traits and while you're grinding out weapon cases, what you really want to do is you really want to make a good money-making build, so that way you can get through the grind in as quickly a fashion as possible. And using the route that I just gave you, you'll have plenty of opportunities for farming powers that will increase the amount of cash that you're earning and give you new venues of earning cash. These powers do stack as well, so if you happen to find a certain method of making cash that you enjoy, you can put a whole bunch of powers related to that in your power bar, and you'll be earning just ridiculous amounts of money. Now, you might want a spot to go in order to farm money, and one of my favorite spots to go to is the Black Sand Beach just near Dr. Earnhardt's house. Along this beach, you'll be able to find a lot of spawns for alligators, which can drop pretty decent amounts of money, especially with the right powers equipped. Alongside that, there are also set pieces along the beach for downed Vaas's, where you can also get extra cash, as well as extra healing syringes and that sort of stuff to kind of keep you going as you're farming at this beach.
Hello, you handsome motherfucker.
So we've got powers, traits, and cash covered. Next up, let's talk about farming max level and unique weapons here in the Vaas Insanity DLC. You can start earning unique weapons on Mind level 2. The Mind level does affect what type of weapon you can get from armory challenges, so if you want to go for a higher level weapon, you have to be on a higher Mind level. You can get a bunch of unique weapons, such as the SPAS 12 or the M16. You can also get an RPG too, and presumably a unique variant for every single armory challenge. I still have a lot more farming to do to confirm that, but it's what it seems like as it is currently. The only weapon that seemingly would not have a unique variant will be the handgun, because that's the only weapon that does not have an armory challenge. You can spot out unique weapons by looking on your map and just looking at each of the various armory challenges across the map. You can tell it's an armory challenge because it's a little padlock with a key in it. And then you just gotta look down at the rewards, and if it shows up as a unique weapon that you haven't gotten yet, then you can go on over there and get that. If you look at the map and there are no unique weapons, then you can pop on out to the main menu and jump back into the game, and that will reset the armory challenges, which will allow you to re-roll your odds at getting a unique weapon per armory challenge. As well, if you're getting a base level weapon, then there's a little bit of variation that happens. Sometimes you'll get a weapon that's exactly at the level that you see, and sometimes the level will be a little bit below what you see. Ultimately, the armory will be the best bet for getting the base weapons in the game, whereas these armory challenges will be the best bet for getting the unique weapons. Weapons don't sell for overly much, especially in comparison to how much money you can earn when you have a money-making build set up with your powers. So selling weapons isn't overly lucrative for your time, but you can do that if you want to. A lot of the special weapons are actually really good to get though, and you'll probably want to try to seek those out. It seems like your best bet for getting level 5 weapons is by going to Mind level 5, but you might want to go to Mind level 4 because you still have a shot at the kind of 5-star weapons, the orange weapons, but with a little bit less risk involved. Next up is another set of uses for poison in the game. I have to say, I really think that poison serves a much better purpose here in the Vaas DLC than it even does in the base game. You can use poison for crowd control against enemies, poisoning them and getting them to kind of stop shooting at you for a moment and stand around just hacking their lungs out. And if you set up your damage right, you can even set this up to be a really quick one-shot kill on most of the base enemies in the game. With a really good poison sniper and sniper build, you can one-shot every enemy in the game, which is ridiculous. But then you can also utilize poison for fighting off animals, because a lot of times it does a massive amount of damage to animals, as well as utilizing it for the golden bootias. You really want to have at least one poison weapon as an option. You can swap weapons on the fly just like you do in the base game, which is where you're going to be holding on to a lot of your unique weapons. So try to have a poison weapon in your arsenal, that way you can utilize it when you need to. This next tip is a really quick but kind of general tip. You want to do a lot of your weapon farming and maybe even your money farming as well at nighttime, because you get the opportunity to take down the kind of suicide bombing ghost dudes really easily with just a single bullet to most of them, which just adds to the amount of money that you're earning. And if you're taking on any of the arsenal challenges, they count as well towards your score for how many people you need to kill. And again, they only cost one bullet, so it kind of speeds up the process of some of these things. Next up are just a handful of general roguelike tips. Number one is to use all healing items available when you need to. You don't need to preserve these healing items, burn them off to keep yourself alive, that way you can avoid dying. 2. Use all weapons available by farming from armory challenges. So this way you can have a stockpile of like a good assault rifle, a good shotgun, a good sniper rifle, a good bow, a good rocket launcher, a good grenade launcher. You know what I'm saying. So that way you can have a ton of weapons to use, just like you do in the base game of Far Cry 6. Tip number 3 is to use all gadgets available, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the first tip. You can restock these gadgets off at any safe house whenever you need to, so just burn them off. And then next up is to use all takedowns available. There's a variety of them, from the pistol takedown to the throwing knife takedown. Try to use as many of them as possible, because that, in combination with the Wrath skill, is very, very beneficial for getting some on-the-fly healing. And tip number 5 is to have a good time. It's a roguelike, so deaths can be kind of harsh, but it's also just part of the process. If you're using all the tips in this video, you should be able to avoid dying pretty much entirely. So there we go, 10 tips and tricks for Vaas Insanity DLC in Far Cry 6. This was a pretty epic video, I'm not gonna lie. It started out as just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make 10 simple tricks. But then I found out the whole route and the farming of unique weapons and stuff, and it just kind of spiraled out from there. But hopefully you dudes have enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's been helpful for you for any point throughout your journey throughout this DLC. Let me know what you think of the DLC as well in the comments down below. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.